Join us and unwind with a good book. Welcome to Relaxing Reads.
Yes, welcome to Relaxing Reads. I'm Anne in New Glasgow.
I'm Deb in Halifax.
And I'm Simone in Vancouver.
Our relaxing read this time around is Dial A for Aunties by author Jessie Q. Sutanto, a super funny and quirky novel that is part thriller, part rom-com, and a celebration of mothers and daughters, as well as a deep dive into Chinese Indonesian culture. When Madeline Chan ends up accidentally killing her blind date, her meddlesome mother calls for her even more meddlesome aunties to help get rid of the body. Unfortunately, a dead body proves to be a lot more challenging to dispose of than one might anticipate, especially when it's accidentally shipped in a cake cooler to the over-the-top billionaire wedding Medi, her ma, and aunties are working at an island resort on the California coastline. But things go from inconvenient to downright torturous when Medi's great college love and biggest heartbreak makes a surprise appearance amid the wedding chaos. Honestly, when you read the synopsis of this book, you try to wrap your head around it. You're like, what the? there's a lot happening. And no matter what you think going in, it's a total surprise. And it's funny and lighthearted, but also deeply thoughtful as well. And so nice to see the bond between families. So what did you both think? Simone, we'll start with you. It was a whirlwind, to say the least.
It was, and that description had me laughing because you're right. As soon as you hear it, you're like, what? What is happening in this book? And that's just it. Like, I often, I'm a slow reader. It takes me a little while, but I know I was messaging both of you. I read this in 3 days. I just couldn't put it down because it kept me so engaged from beginning to end. There was no lull for me. There was no moment where I was like, okay, I'm going to wrap up for tonight and I'll come back another day. It was just, no, I want to keep going. There was just so much to unpack, so much entertainment value. And honestly, going in, I didn't know what to expect because it seemed like crazy over the top. But when I got into it, for me, there was a lot of relatable parts as well, not to do with anything to do with dead bodies or anything, but just the cultural stuff. It was just, I was in. I really enjoyed it.
And Deb, what about you?
Yeah, I feel the same way. And like Simone, I'm slow to get into it, but I ignored everyone once I started reading. And I felt at times like I was reading about my own family, my relatives. I mean, wild, crazy, funny, but loving and incredibly strong women. Their approach might not be like everybody else's, everybody talking over each other, but I think the love that they have for one another was what really took me along the way. And yeah, I mean, you kept thinking, what else is going to happen? How are they going to get out of this one? What's around the corner? So I was totally invested in them.
It's so funny because when I first read with this, it's sort of, what was to be expected in the book, although you could never predict it. I thought this book's going to stress me out big time. I thought this is so good. Accidental murder and I couldn't wrap my mind around it. But once I got in, like you, Simone, I couldn't put it down. Funny. I was so surprised. It was so witty and charming. And I have to tell you, there were a few chapters where I got to the end, because I'm pretty good at predicting stuff that's going to happen. There were so many OMG moments that I could not see coming. Like, you get to the end of a chapter, you're like, what just happened? and then of course you have to go to the next one and the next one. It was an addictive read and really enjoyable for sure. So Medi feels a lot of guilt and responsibility to keep her mother and aunts happy, so much so that she was willing to forego moving to New York with Nathan. Do you think that was the right choice for her? And would you have done the same thing? And Simone, starting with you again on this one.
Well, I can understand where she's coming from because while growing up, in her mind is this family curse, and she's constantly been around her aunties where they've been in situations where men in their family have either passed away or they've left. And she is the one that they all say, yes, you are here with us. You are the family that is staying with us. So I think she just felt that responsibility and she didn't want that heartbreak from her family. So it was almost easier to go through her own heartbreak than break 4 other hearts. And I think that's how she felt. And if it felt right at the time and it was your gut instinct, that's what I think you always have to lead with, because there will be decisions you make that feel right or wrong in that moment, but that's what you're choosing. And you if you go forward in life, you can't look back and almost have regrets. You have to just know there was a reason that decision was made, and that's the point you are in your life right now. So I think in that moment, it was so surprising the way she kind of just did it. There was no like hand holding or walking him through it. It was just kind of like
jumped him.
It was like cutthroat. And so that part of it, I was like, I thought you liked this guy, but I think she just, she was so concerned about leaving them behind that she kind of just took one for the team.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
She ripped that Band-Aid off fast. Deb, what would you have done in the situation?
Well, I mean, like Simone, like all of us, I think there was a big surprise, a big shock. Poor Nathan, my gosh. But I think I probably would have done the same thing because the guilt would weigh so heavy. I don't know that it would be worth it. And I think it would completely affect the relationship with Nathan. Like, I think that she would have to at some point step away and return home. And then I don't know how it would have ended up if she had made that big move. But I think I probably would have had to make the same decision, especially if I did have an investment in the family business. If I didn't have anything in common with what they had going on, I think it might have been a little easier to say, no, I don't want to spoil or ruin what you have, so I'm just going to go do my own thing, but I still love you, right?
Yeah, well, listen, as the queen of feeling bad and over-apologizing right here, hi, my name is Anne, I could totally relate. I was like, yeah, I probably would have stayed as well, but as you were mentioning, Simone, when the breakup happened, it was all really like, oh, okay, and then that was it. And I was happy because there were so many stressful moments in the book. It was so nice that when she did encounter Nathan again, down the road when at the resort for the wedding, that he was like so happy to see her. And it was sort of like all that other stuff. It wasn't a factor. Like he was ready to take her back immediately. Yeah. So it was nice that that was one less stress because there was a lot of stressful stuff happening in that book. And it was nice. He seemed like a great character. Can't wait to see who plays him in the Netflix movie.
It was so funny that he just kept showing up so much. I wasn't expecting him to be in every situation she was in, but then it'd be like, knock on the door, here he is. Oh, she's over there, here he is. And I'm like, does he not have any other work to do in his day? Because he's pretty available.
Well, speaking of always being there throughout the book, which of Meddy's aunts or aunts? What do we say? I say aunts.
I say aunts too.
I say aunt. But the rest of my family would say aunt.
Yeah. Well, which one of the aunts would you most want in an emergency and why? And I just got such a kick out of the aunts. They were aunts. they were fantastic characters. Let's start with you, Deb, on this one.
I would go with Big Aunt. I think there's something that you trust in your elders or the one who is the oldest in the family. There's some comfort there and belief in them that they will get you through whatever might be happening. And Big Aunt is, very much a no-nonsense kind of, person. And even if she doesn't understand or know exactly what's going on, she can definitely fake it. So I would definitely want her to be there.
Yeah, it's so funny. I picked Big Aunt for sure. Not like I'm saying that like Big Aunt. She was such a strong presence. I loved when Meddy was pretending to be Nathan's lawyer. And she said she channeled her inner Big Aunt. So she was feeling that feeling she said was pretty addictive. And I can bet, like, I think in a situation I'm going to get myself into, I'm sure down the road in this moment right now, I'm trying to channel my Big Aunt. I'm strong. I can do this. What about you, Simone?
It was Big Aunt for me too. I mean, she's the leader of the pack. She's got the most experience. She's the wisest, but I think she would be so great to get you through a situation. But I also like Fourth Aunt because she's just funny and it's the way she comes out with certain things and she's this big star. I think her laughter would get us through kind of a crazy situation.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you definitely need it.
Yeah, I have to say too, I loved Meddy's ma. She's so funny. There were so many sweet moments, and with the texting, and when she set her up on that date and everything, there was just so many moments that were just so sweet and kind-hearted. But yeah, there was. I love the tone of the whole book. Like it just carried the story so well, as far as the ups and downs of mothers and daughters and family. And I look forward to the Netflix movie. It's going to be a lot of fun. Although Meddy's mother and aunts are constantly sniping at each other, at the end of the day, they are willing to drop everything to help Meddy. Can you relate to this, whether it's with your group of friends or with family? And Simone, can you relate to this one?
I can, because at the end of the day, family should be there for each other when it matters the most, when it really counts. Because from day to day, there, or even with friends, there are some people that you might go months without speaking to or seeing, but who your first phone calls would be in a situation. Those people, those are the people that will help you. There won't be any judgment. They will help ease your stress. So whether that's, somebody in your family or a friend of yours, somebody you're close to, I think those people, and that's what it comes down to, because you can have a lot of day-to-day fair weather friends, and you find out very quickly when you go through something who the real ones are.
Yeah. What about you, Deb?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I agree. And I can find myself feeling the same thing for both friends and family. There's that unconditional love. It's kind of a funny thing, right? And you think, my family's just quirky. I don't know. But there's a lot of quirkiness in family and friends. They may be annoying sometimes. You question them. There could be very stressful moments with them, but it's part of you. They're part of you. And there's an understanding that through the chaos and their very zany way of doing things, the approach will bring you some calmness. And, family's got your back, whether it's the immediate family or the extended one.
Yes, absolutely. My immediate family is like this. And I also have a group of girlfriends who I've been super tight with since junior high and high school that I could count on anytime, day or night. And as you said earlier, Simone, like it, you find out who's there for you when the chips are down. So it was certainly the chips were down in this movie. I keep saying this movie. You know why? Because I read it like a movie. In my head, it played out like I could see it. I could see it so clearly, and I wasn't surprised to read that it was going to be made into a Netflix film. So wrapping things up, just wondering overall, like, what was your favorite moment or your big takeaway from the book? And Deb?
Do you know what? I think it's the moment for me was when Meddy had to go to her ma and her aunties and say, okay, here's what's going down. I can't imagine having to tell them about the situation that she found herself in. And just, again, their approach, and it was almost immediate. They knew exactly what they had to do for her. And I actually felt like, oh, I can breathe a little easier, even though I'm not in her situation. But I thought, oh, it feels okay. It feels like they're somehow going to make everything all right.
Yeah. And Simone, I know you have one.
It was definitely the text exchange. I couldn't get because I couldn't get over when she was like, this and the eggplant and whatever. I was like, what is she talking about? Yes. And when she's like, Mom, show me the text conversation. And then it was like, even though it wasn't okay what happened, this is how he was going into that date.
I thought that the texting exchanges throughout the book, because there was a few off and on, but they were written so well, and you could it was so relatable. Like you could see, you could see people going back and forth. Is there another one that comes to mind?
Yeah, the other one I loved was the grooms walking in, holding each other up.
Oh my God. They were right out of it. Yeah. I was, you know what? And that was an OMG moment right there. I did not see the dead body making it to the wedding. Like when we get to the end of that chapter, oh my gosh, the dead body was there. You're like, because you read the synopsis again of this book and you think, how in the heck is this a hilariously funny novel about, murder and the rest of it? But it's not really, because it was an accidental killing, let's face it. And it was so funny. It was so well written, and it had just a little bit of this and a little bit of that to balance it all out. And as stressful as I thought it would be, it was an absolutely lovely read. So yeah,
it
so
was
many
a great escape,
moments,
wasn't it? It was we always talk about how books are a great escape, but this really is, like, if you need a little bit of a laughter, some sort of laughter, some more entertainment in your life, this is definitely what you need.
Yep, it's definitely escape from reality, that's for sure, especially these days with all the stuff that's on the go in the world. It was when I was reading this book, I was in this book. Like I was out of everything else that was going on, and it was a nice escape for sure. Simone, you had a chance to talk with Jesse. Did you get the scoop on the movie?
I did. So we chatted about the movie. We talked about kind of how it went from wild to even wilder in the book. And we also talked about one of her favorite moments and about the sequel to her book as well.
Oh, exciting. Can't wait to hear it.
With that, let's get into our chat with author Jessie Q. Sutanto. Jessie, Dial A for Aunties, one of my favorite reads in the last couple months. I finished your book in 3 days.
Oh, wow. Yay. I'm so happy to hear that.
It was one of those that I absolutely just couldn't put down. So when you were writing this book, where did you get some of these wild ideas? Because it's such a highly entertaining book.
So I kind of started out writing like darker stories that, involve murdery stories. And so then my critique partners would read it and they would be like, oh, it's good, but, your characters are very flippant about murder, and we don't think that they're like, reacting very realistically. And then I was like, what if it was like a bunch of, these meddlesome aunties, and so we have the main character who is your like normal average person, and she's reacting to it like an average person would, and then the aunties could be like the flippant ones, and it just works so well. So I kind of just took the idea and just ran with it.
Okay. And what was the response like from your family members that have read it?
So they haven't said anything. So my parents' generation, most of them haven't read it because they don't understand English well enough to read it. But my mom read it, and she was like, well, this isn't like me, or, it's not like Big Aunt, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, because I scrambled, everyone's characteristics. And I was like, actually the mom character is based on, like, my dad. And she was like, oh, my God, how did I not see that? And she was like, she is totally your dad. So I was very cunning with that.
I love that. And in the book, this family, like many others, have that unconditional love, and they're there for you no matter the culture. Your family bond is strong. So were you specifically describing the Indonesian culture, Asian culture dynamics? Because again, there are so many of these familiar traits in other families.
No, this book was very like cathartic in the sense that it's based on my family. I just knew that if, knock on wood, I was ever in that situation, then they would definitely just help me. They would do whatever like they thought was best for me, like no questions asked. So it wasn't even like, oh, this is Indonesian culture, because I just have no idea what other people's families would do, but this is what my family would do. But like, in fact, after my husband read it, he was like, oh my God, if you ever accidentally killed me, like, I know your family would just cover it up.
That's so funny. And, the book, it's hilarious. Just when something's happened and you don't think it could get any wilder or another wow factor, it just does. So for you personally, what would you say was the funniest moment in the book?
So hands down, it is when Maddie comes home to her mom with like a dead body, and then the mom, calls the aunts. And I just had, I wrote that part where the mom was like, okay, well, we have to cut fruit for them, because, they're coming here to help get rid of the body. We can't, not feed them. Because, something very similar happened where, we had some, family emergency, and my dad was like, well, I'm going to call, Seven's aunt, because she's, the one who solves everything for us. And then he's like, oh, my God, quickly, order food for her and prepare, a feast. And I'm like, oh, my God, nobody feels like eating.
I loved the...
we have to take care of it.
I know. I feel like I can relate because I'm South Asian, and a lot of that kind of stuff happens with my family and stuff too, where it's like you're worried about what other people are going to think, and before you're even kind of worrying about the overall bigger picture.
Yes, exactly.
I really enjoyed the text exchange when the mom was pretending to be Madeline. That was funny.
Yes, I love that whole chapter so much with the chat messages, and that was the most fun I ever had writing a book.
Now, for you, have you ever experienced anything even close to this level of craziness when you've attended a wedding?
Well, so I was a wedding photographer back when I was living in England, and so I've seen some stuff. But, not a dead body in a cooler. That one I haven't yet come across.
Hopefully never.
Yes.
And I was so excited to hear that there was going to be a sequel to this book. So tell us a little bit about when we can expect that.
So the sequel is coming out in March of this year, so not long now. It's called Four Aunties and a Wedding, and it takes place in England and Oxford, actually, because I lived there for 5 years. And Maddie and Nathan are getting married, and, of course, nothing can go right. So expect a lot more shenanigans from the aunties and, of course, a lot more meddling.
I love that. And then the other thing that really got the members of our book club excited was that this was going to become a Netflix film. So can you share a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So we have a screenwriter, and she is a screenwriter of Fresh Off the Boat, and I know she worked on How I Met Your Mother. So she's obviously, very funny. And last I heard is that she has finished the script, and Netflix has read it and asked for a few minor edits. So I should be getting it any day now. I'm very, very excited.
Oh, that is really exciting. Well, thank you again for chatting with us. And like I said, we all loved the book so much. And you pick it up and you don't know what you're in store for. And like I said, I couldn't stop reading it. I had given myself, because I'm a slow reader, a week to read it. So it was like, I'll do this many pages a day. And then when I got to this weekend, I was like, oh, I'm already done. Now what?
Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy. And I love that. I love it when people go in blind, because the cover makes it look like a rom-com. So I really enjoy the shock.
Yeah, and that's what that's why I gravitated towards it too, because aunties, I grew up in a culture where everyone is an auntie, and that's just how it is. So when I saw that, that's what grabbed me first, because aunties, what is this about? Even just the things on how it was so similar to the South Asian culture. We do those things where we mess with the groom and the groomsmen, and they have to do these things, and then the gifts are exchanged. So for me, it was really interesting to see that, there's another culture that's doing this too, and it was kind of very relatable. But yeah, it was a great book. And thank you again for chatting with us.
Thank you so much for, having me on the podcast. I'm so excited to listen to it once it's out.
Yes, for sure. We'll keep you posted. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you for kicking back and relaxing with us. We hope you'll join us again on Relaxing Reads.